Do so.
Call the member for East Hills.
Madam Speaker, my question is directed to the Minister for Police and Emergency Services, Minister for Sport and Recreation, and the Minister for assisting the Premier on Western Sydney. How is the government supporting Frontline Police?
Thank you. I call the Minister for Police. I again warn members that many of them are on 3 calls. Many of them are on 3 calls.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do thank the member for East Hills for his question. He's a dedicated representative of his community and knows exactly how important the police force is, particularly in his part. And for someone who's always taken a practical approach to life, he always wants to ensure that the police force have got laws and the equipment that they need to ensure that they can continue to do the job. And, Madam Speaker, it would also be important for me to acknowledge that today I was on the Central Coast with the Premier and also the Leader of the Opposition and the Shadow Minister for Police, representing both sides of politics at the Police Association conference. And it was at that conference where we were able to make some announcements about how we were going to improve the laws that allow the police to get on with doing their job. And fundamentally one of those is the review that has been taking place into the LEPRA Act, or for those that are not aware of the abbreviation, the Law Enforcement Powers and Responsibilities Act. Now, this Act will be introduced to Parliament by the Attorney-General and it will clarify a number of powers governing police operations. This legislation will implement recommendations of a statutory review which was conducted by former Shadow Attorney-General Andrew Tink and the former Police Minister Paul Whelan. Now, it's important to note that the previous government did not ever conduct this statutory review. It was due in 2009, but it lapsed through that year. It lapsed again in 2010 and it lapsed again in 2011. Now, it's important to know this because there was an immense amount of frustration in the police about how this Act operated. And so the urgency to have this statutory review done on time and ensure that the police are able to do their work, their job, ensuring that the community is safe, that they're able to do the investigations and hold those criminals for the periods of time that they need required, was never ever undertaken by the previous government. This legislation will help clarify and simplify an important amount of work done by Frontline Police. We are helping police do the best that they can by reforming the laws that govern the procedures and safeguards during searches. We have already implemented reforms to Section 99 of the Act, which deals with the powers of arrest, which were too complex and too difficult for police to apply in the field. The proposed overhaul of Part 9 will clarify the different safeguards that apply to people under arrest and suspects who voluntarily attend for questioning. It will allow police to be clear about the different procedures that apply to suspects when in their company. The police have told us that it's the initial 4-hour period time limit for which a person can be detained for investigation, which is too short. In line with the recommendations of the Tink-Whelan review, we're extending this period of 6 hours for arrested subjects, but a maximum of 12 hours will remain. We're also streamlining the procedures so they can apply during the execution of a search warrant. This particularly means that whilst they're out in the field, they don't have the start of that timeline, they don't have to take those suspects back to the police station. So creating some practical changes to laws so that police can actually do the work that the community wants them to do. Under our reforms, the police will no longer have to take a suspect from the scene of a search warrant back to the police station, but they can have the police officer who is independent from the investigation oversee the administration of rights wherever the warrant is executed. Reforms to Section 201 of the Act will ensure that inadvertent breaches of the currently very complex section do not lead to evidence being thrown out of court for something as simple as a police officer failing to specify their name and station when exercising certain powers. But to ensure the public is protected, the Ombudsman will oversee compliance of police under the reform of Part 15 of the Act. Now, I was only looking through Hansard the other day and I noticed that the member for Dubbo actually gave a speech last year that relayed a specific example of this. Now, a police officer of 22 years' experience, and I know there are a number of police officers across both sides of politics that would have probably experienced something similar to this. He told a story in Hansard about a time whilst he was at Tanapil Police Station. where he was trying to engage with a suspect, and he said in Hansard that he told his name and rank and station. He asked for the person to move on. The gentleman moved around the corner and committed another offence. This time, at the time, Sergeant Grant didn't state his name and his rank and station because he'd only just done so 10 minutes before. This is exactly the same person. The member for Dubbo then lost the case in court because he didn't fully identify himself. Now, this practical application, these changes to the laws...
The member for East Hills. Yes, extension of 2 minutes is granted.
Now, these practical applications, these changes to the law, the statutory review that was conducted by two eminent people across both sides of politics that never took place under the previous government. Never took place under the previous government. These are the things that the police officers are asking for us to do. This review has given us a clear series of recommendations which we are implementing. We've already identified a number of those, 36 recommendations in all. Some of them will also clarify search powers. They'll also include powers to strip search with an observer present and expanding powers that may be exercised at a crime scene before a crime scene warrant is obtained. All of these things will allow police to get on with their job, ensure that we're out there catching crooks and not caught up in red tape and paperwork. It's exactly what the police force have asked us to do. It's exactly what the public want the police force to be able to do. That's why we're getting on with the job.
Can you call the member for Maroubra?
That notice is to the Minister for Police. Minister, given reports recently that you as Police Minister will make a decision within weeks on whether you'll send hundreds of police to move on protesters from a farm at Bentley near Lismore, why did you tell the House that the decision to pull 800 police officers from across the state from their regular duties was in fact a decision for the Commissioner?
Can you call the Minister for Police? The question's been asked. Let's give the Minister a chance to answer it.
Here's one thing we know. We know that those guys govern by Daily Telegraph, but we govern by good governance. Here's one other point.
And I can.
For the last 150 years of operation of the New South Wales Police Force, there has been a very, very clear distinction between the political governance of each government and the operations of the police. And that has not changed under this government, it has not changed under this minister, and it will not change. So,
Order. Order.
well, actually, you're absolutely right. It has
There's a
changed
problem.
under this government because the separation between politics and the operation of the police force is back in
Attorney
place.
General.
So there is no doubt that there has been, and I've been advised that there is a significantly large camp that has taken place in residence of Bentley to oppose the Met Gasco's exploratory drilling licence that is in place up there.
Order.
The New South Wales Government does support and continues to support the right of its citizens to lawfully protest. That has not changed. We must be able to uphold democratic practice that allow those people to lawfully protest. But we also must maintain the law around access rights. This is a conflict that will continue to exist. And my message to those people that are congregating at Bentley is that if you don't break the law, if you protest following the laws of this state, you will be fine. In fact, the police will protect you because you are upholding the law. Now, it's critically important that we understand why the police are going there. The police have the responsibility to uphold the law, regardless of the circumstance.
Member for Maroubra on a point of order. But the Minister has been entirely relevant to the question that you asked.
Is the Minister saying the Daily
No,
Telegraph
no, you
reports
don't ask
are
the
wrong?
questions here. You've asked the question, resume your seat. The Minister has the call and remains relevant.
So, as I was saying, Madam Speaker, the police have a responsibility to uphold the law regardless of the circumstances, including the relation to legitimate industrial, mining and forestry ventures. I am sympathetic and I understand why people are so passionate about what takes place in their geographical location. Any person in this chamber would understand if something was taking place in your region that you did not want it, why you would want to exercise your democratic right to protest. But it is absolutely critical that the police, through their presence, allow the assembly of a legally and lawful protest. But the moment people choose to not to support the law, the moment people choose to break the law, we must allow the police force to use their operational capability to uphold the law. If we do not do that now, if we do not do that under other circumstances, when do we roll over? When do we stop? So my message is simple. If you want to protest, protest legally. Wave your placards. Tell everyone about your message. But don't break the law, because then you'll give the police no other choice but to intervene. That is the clear message. The police want to help people. They want to support people. But you've got to make sure that you uphold the law.